Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. A mysterious envelope rested on the coffee table, glowing under the lamp's light. Tonight was a special night for the Carson family, a tradition they had kept since childhood, the night to make Christmas wish lists. Alyssa, with her red hair falling forward, quickly asked, "The gold pen, please?" She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, something she always did. She wore her favorite winter sweater with snowflakes on the collar, a symbol of the holiday season. Across the room, the youngest Carson sibling, Max, lay on the floor, his dark hair messy from resting. At 24, he looked almost exactly like his sister, just a little older. Their mother, Helen, spoke from her armchair. "Remember, each of you needs to write one impossible wish." She adjusted her reading glasses and straightened her burgundy cardigan. "Something we know we won't get, but something interesting. Like when Dad wished to talk to squirrels," Thomas Jr. said from the kitchen doorway. He had just come from his apartment downtown, still wearing his navy peacoat covered in snow. Their father, Thomas Sr., chuckled from his recliner. "Those little bastards keep getting into my bird feeders. I stand by that wish." "Language, Thomas," Helen scolded, though her lips twitched with suppressed laughter. "All right, who's going first this year?" Alyssa asked, twirling the gold pen between her fingers. "Age before beauty," Max said, grinning up at his sister. "Then you should definitely go first," she shot back. "Children," Helen interrupted, though both were well into adulthood. "Thomas Jr., why don't you start?" Thomas Jr. walked over and took the pen from Alyssa. He thought for a moment, then wrote in careful script, "I wish I could eat anything without gaining weight." "Boring," Alyssa declared. "Practical," Thomas Jr. countered. Helen went next, writing her wish with a secretive smile. When pressed to share, she simply said, "A lady never tells." Thomas Sr. grabbed the pen and scrawled something about having the energy of a 20-year-old again, which earned him an eye roll from his wife. "Your turn, Max," Alyssa said, handing him the pen. Max stared at the paper for a long moment. Every year he wrote something silly. The ability to fly, unlimited pizza, a pet dinosaur. But this year, a different thought had been nagging at him, one he couldn't quite articulate even to himself. His pen hovered over the paper. Then, in quick strokes, he wrote, "I wish I could know what it's like to be someone completely different." "That's oddly philosophical for you," Thomas Jr. observed. "What can I say? I'm growing as a person." Max slid the letter across to Alyssa. She read his wish and raised an eyebrow, but didn't comment. Instead, she added her own in flowing cursive, "I wish I could read minds for just one day." "There," Helen said once everyone had written their wishes. "Now we seal it up and put it by the fireplace." "Same as every year," Thomas Sr. added, already reaching for the TV remote. They folded the letter into its envelope, and Alyssa placed it on the mantel next to a plate of cookies and a glass of milk. "For tradition," Helen insisted, even though her youngest child was 24. The family dispersed to their various activities. Thomas Jr. helped his mother in the kitchen, preparing tomorrow's Christmas dinner. Thomas Sr. dozed in front of a football game. Max and Alyssa stayed in the living room, she reading a book while he scrolled through his phone. "Strange wish this year," Alyssa mentioned without looking up from her novel. "Yeah, well," Max shrugged. "Figured I'd try something different." "Different can be good." She turned a page. "Though be careful what you wish for and all that." "Right, because Santa's definitely going to grant our impossible wishes." "Stranger things have happened?" "Name one." "Remember when Thomas Jr. found that $100 bill in his coat pocket the day after he wished for money?" "Coincidence. If you say so." Alyssa's green eyes sparkled with mischief over the top of her book. The evening wore on. One by one, the family members headed to bed. Max was the last to go upstairs, pausing at the mantel to look at their letter one more time. The house was quiet except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. He shook his head at his own foolishness and headed to his childhood bedroom, still decorated with posters of bands he'd liked in high school. Meanwhile, somewhere far north, in a workshop that existed between reality and magic, a very different scene was unfolding. "Bernard!" the voice boomed across the workshop floor. Bernard, where's my list? Which list, sir? A harried elf scurried over, arms full of scrolls. The letter list. The wishes. Santa Claus swayed slightly on his feet, his red coat askew. An empty bottle of peppermint schnapps rolled across his desk. Sir, perhaps you shouldn't. Nonsense. Christmas Eve, Bernard. No time to waste. Santa grabbed a letter at random from the pile. Let's see here. The Carsons. Lovely family. Write them every year. Sir, those are the impossible wishes. We don't usually... Impossible? Santa's eyes, though glazed, sparked with indignation. Nothing's impossible on Christmas. He squinted at the letter, the words swimming before his eyes. Right then, Thomas Jr. wants to eat without gaining weight. Easy enough. With a wobbly wave of his hand, golden sparkles flew from his fingertips. Helen wants... Oh my, that's private. But done. Another wave, another shower of sparkles. Sir, please, you're not reading them correctly. Thomas Sr., energy of a 20-year-old. Consider it done. Santa was on a roll now, magic flowing freely with each gesture. He came to Max's wish and paused, blinking heavily. Wants to know what it's like to be someone completely different, eh? And his sister Alyssa wants to read minds? Santa's alcohol-addled brain made a connection that, in his sober state, he never would have made. Well, if he wants to be different, and she wants to read minds, why not give them both a real experience? Sir, no! Bernard lunged for the letter, but it was too late. Santa waved both hands in a grand gesture, golden and silver magic intertwining in a complex pattern. There, Max can be someone completely different. He can be Alyssa, and Alyssa can read minds by being in Max's head. Perfect solution. The magic spiraled out into the night, seeking its targets. What have you done? Bernard whispered, watching the magical trails disappear into the distance. Granted Christmas wishes, Santa declared proudly, before promptly passing out face first into his desk. Bernard sighed and began damage control procedures. This was going to be a long night. Back at the Carson house, the magic arrived like a whisper, seeping through walls and windows, finding its targets as they slept. It swirled around Max first, then Alyssa, weaving between them in intricate patterns. The house hummed with an energy just below perception, and then silence. Christmas morning arrived with a fresh coating of snow and pale sunlight streaming through frost-covered windows. Max woke slowly, aware that something felt off before he even opened his eyes. The bed seemed different somehow. His body felt wrong, lighter in some places, heavier in others. And his hair? Why was there so much hair in his face? He reached up to brush it away and froze. The hand that entered his vision was smaller than it should be, more delicate, with long fingers and... Was that nail polish? What the hell? The voice that emerged was higher, softer, familiar but wrong. Max shot upright, immediately aware of weight on his chest that shouldn't be there. He looked down and saw green pajamas he didn't own, stretched across curves he definitely didn't have when he went to bed. No. He scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over the longer pajama pants, and rushed to the mirror on the closet door. Alyssa's face stared back at him, auburn hair messy from sleep, green eyes wide with shock. This isn't happening. He touched the mirror, watching Alyssa's reflection copy his movements perfectly. This can't be happening. A knock at the door made him jump. Alyssa, you awake? Mom's making Christmas breakfast. That was his voice. His actual voice, coming from the hallway. Just a minute, Max called back, cringing at the sound of Alyssa's voice coming from his throat. Okay, but hurry up. I'm starving, and you know Thomas Jr. will eat all the good stuff if we're not quick. Footsteps retreated down the hall. Max, in Alyssa's body, sank onto the bed, mind reeling. This was impossible. People didn't just wake up in their sister's body, but the evidence was undeniable. He could feel the difference in how this body moved, how it balanced, how it breathed. Okay, think. He pressed Alyssa's hands to Alyssa's temples. This has to be a dream. A really vivid, really weird dream. But the sensation of auburn hair sliding over his shoulders felt too real. The way the green pajama top clung to curves he wasn't used to felt too specific. The higher center of gravity, the wider hips, the narrower shoulders, every detail was too precise for a dream. A memory surfaced. The wish. I wish I could know what it's like to be someone completely different. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Another knock. Alyssa, seriously, Thomas Jr. just got to the kitchen. Operation Save the Bacon is a go. Max stood up, wobbling slightly as he adjusted to the different proportions. He couldn't hide in here all day. He had to go out there and... what? Pretend to be his sister? Tell everyone what happened? He imagined that conversation. Hey everyone, I'm actually Max, but I woke up in Alyssa's body because Santa granted my wish. They'd have him committed. Coming, he called out, trying to make Alyssa's voice sound normal. He looked around the room. Definitely Alyssa's room, not his. The bookshelf full of novels, the desk organized with color-coded folders, the closet door slightly open, revealing a wardrobe he'd never paid attention to before. Clothes, he muttered. I need clothes. He opened drawers randomly, finding things he didn't want to think too hard about, before locating a pair of jeans and a red sweater. It took 3 tries to figure out the bra, something he never thought he'd have to know, and the jeans were tighter than anything he'd ever worn. The sweater was soft, at least, and long enough to provide some modesty. He caught sight of himself in the mirror again. Alyssa's face looked back, now dressed in the red sweater and jeans. The auburn hair was still a mess. Hair, right. He found a brush and did his best, eventually pulling it back into what he hoped was an acceptable ponytail. This is insane, he told his reflection. Completely insane. But hiding wouldn't solve anything. He took a deep breath, noting how even that felt different, and opened the door. The hallway looked the same as always, family photos lining the walls, the runner carpet soft under bare feet. He realized he'd forgotten socks and shoes, but it was too late now. The stairs were an adventure. His center of gravity was all wrong, and he had to grip the banister to keep from stumbling. How did women navigate the world like this every day? Voices drifted from the kitchen. His family, chattering about normal Christmas morning things, completely unaware that their son was trapped in their daughter's body. He paused at the kitchen doorway. There was his body, Max's body, sitting at the table, eating pancakes like nothing was wrong. Alyssa was in there, in his body, seeming perfectly comfortable. There she is, Helen smiled at him. I was starting to think you'd sleep through Christmas. Sorry, Max mumbled, sliding into what he realized must be Alyssa's usual seat. Rough night. Rough night? Thomas Jr. looked up from his plate, where bacon was piled high. You were asleep by 10. Yeah, well. Max reached for the coffee pot, grateful for something familiar to do. His hands, Alyssa's hands, shook slightly as he poured. You okay, sweetheart? Helen's mother radar was pinging. You seem off. I'm fine, just weird dreams. About what? The question came from his own mouth, Max's body leaning forward with interest. Max looked at Alyssa in his body, searching for any sign of recognition, any hint that she was experiencing the same displacement. But the expression was wrong, too easy, too relaxed. That wasn't how he held his face. Just weird stuff, you know how it is. Not really, Thomas Jr. said around a mouthful of bacon. I never remember my dreams. Lucky you, Max muttered. Breakfast continued with painful normalcy. Max picked at his food, hyper-aware of every movement, every gesture. He kept catching himself sitting wrong or reaching for things with the wrong hand dominance. Alyssa was left-handed, he wasn't. Present time, Thomas Sr. announced once plates were clear. Everyone to the living room. The family migrated to their traditional spots. Max hesitated, unsure where to sit, before Alyssa in his body pointed to a spot on the couch. You always sit there, she said with his voice, and something about the tone was off. Presents were distributed. Max watched his hands, Alyssa's hands, unwrapped gifts, trying to match her usual enthusiasm. A new book series from Thomas Jr., a scarf from their parents, bath stuff from himself, apparently, though he didn't remember buying it. "Thanks, Max," he said automatically, then cringed at how weird it was to thank himself. "You're welcome," Alyssa in his body replied with a smile that didn't quite reach the eyes. As the morning wore on, Max noticed other things were off. Thomas Jr. kept sneaking food but not gaining any visible fullness. Helen moved with an energy that belied her 60 years. Thomas Sr. bounded up the stairs 2 at a time to get something from his room. The wishes. They'd all come true. "I need some air," Max announced suddenly, standing too quickly and having to catch himself on the arm of the couch. "But we haven't done the Christmas movie marathon yet," Helen protested. "I'll be right back, just need a minute." He escaped to the back porch, grateful for the cold air on his face, Alyssa's face. The snow-covered yard looked exactly as it always did, peaceful and bright. But nothing was normal anymore. The door opened behind him. He turned, expecting his mother, but it was his own body standing there. "So," Alyssa said with his voice, closing the door behind her, "how are you enjoying being someone completely different?" Max's stomach dropped. "You know? Of course I know. I woke up in your body this morning." He joined him at the porch railing. "I can read your mind, by the way. That was my wish." "This is insane." "Yes, it is." Alyssa in his body was handling this far better than he was. "But it's also real. We switched bodies, Max. Or rather, you got put in mine. How are you so calm about this?" "Because freaking out won't change anything." She studied him with his own eyes, and it was deeply unsettling. "Besides, I can feel your panic enough for both of us. The mind-reading thing is very real. Can you hear everything?" "Not everything. Just surface thoughts, strong emotions. Right now you're terrified, confused, and..." She tilted her head. "Fascinated? Interesting." Max flushed, the heat foreign on Alyssa's face. "This is your body. Of course I'm trying not to... God, this is awkward. Tell me about it. Do you know how weird it is to pee standing up?" "Alyssa!" "What? We're both adults. We're going to have to deal with the biological realities here." She crossed arms that were broader than she was used to. "The question is, what do we do about it? What can we do? It's not like we can call Santa and ask for a refund." "No, but the wishes came true. That means magic is real. And if magic is real, there has to be a way to undo it." "How long do you think it'll last?" Alyssa was quiet for a moment, and Max could see her thinking with his face, his expressions. "I don't know, maybe until midnight, maybe until next Christmas, maybe forever," Max finished. "Maybe." They stood in silence, watching snow fall from the gray sky. Inside, their family laughed at something on TV, blissfully unaware of the crisis on the porch. "We can't tell them," Max said finally. "No, they'd never believe us." Alyssa sighed, and it was strange hearing his voice make that sound. "We'll have to pretend. You be me, I'll be you. I don't know how to be you, and I don't know how to be you, but here we are." She turned to face him fully. "Look, we'll help each other. I can tell you what I'd normally do, how I'd act. You do the same for me." "This is crazy." "Yes, it is, but it's our reality now." She paused. "There is one good thing." "What could possibly be good about this?" "You wanted to know what it's like to be someone completely different. Well, congratulations. You're about to get a very thorough education in being a woman." Max groaned, dropping Alyssa's head into Alyssa's hands. "This isn't what I meant." "Be careful what you wish for," Alyssa said, and despite everything, there was humor in his voice. "Yeah, thanks. Super helpful. Come on." She headed for the door. "Movie marathon's starting, and Mom will get suspicious if we're both out here too long." Max followed, trying to walk normally in Alyssa's body. "Any tips for... this?" He gestured vaguely at himself. "Sit with your legs crossed or together. Don't slump. It's uncomfortable with breasts. Tuck your hair behind your ear when it falls forward. I do it without thinking. And for God's sake, stop walking like you're trying to take up space. You're in a female body now." "Right. Easy." "Oh, and Max?" Alyssa paused with her hand on the door. I sleep on the left side of the bed, I take my coffee with 1 sugar and oat milk, and I'm supposed to have lunch with my friend Emma on Thursday. Thursday? But that's 3 days away, yes? Better start practicing your girl talk. She went inside, leaving Max on the porch in the cold, wearing his sister's body and her red sweater, wondering how his life had become this surreal. Inside, the family had started Die Hard, Thomas Sr.'s traditional Christmas movie pick, despite Helen's annual protests that it wasn't really a Christmas movie. "There you two are," Helen said as they returned. "Everything okay?" "Fine, Mom," Alyssa answered in Max's voice. "Just needed some fresh air." Max reclaimed Alyssa's spot on the couch, hyper-aware of how he sat, how he held his body. Every movement felt like a performance. He kept catching himself spreading out and had to consciously pull in, take up less space. Thomas Jr. had demolished an entire bag of chips without seeming to notice. "Want some?" He offered the bag to Max. "No thanks." The thought of eating made his stomach turn. How was he supposed to eat, sleep, live in this body? As the movie played, Max found himself studying his family with new eyes. His parents seemed younger, more energetic. Thomas Jr. ate constantly without any visible effect, and Alyssa in his body sat with a distant expression, occasionally flinching or smiling at nothing, reading someone's mind, presumably. During a quiet scene, Max felt his phone, Alyssa's phone, buzz in the pocket of jeans that were tighter than anything he'd ever worn. He pulled it out to find a text from someone named Emma. "Merry Christmas, babe. Can't wait for lunch Thursday. I have so much to tell you about David." Max stared at the message. How was he supposed to respond? What would Alyssa say? Who was David? Another buzz, this time from someone named Rachel. "Did you watch the episode last night? I'm dying to talk about it." What episode? Of what show? He glanced at Alyssa in his body, trying to project a mental SOS. She must have caught it because she pulled out his phone and started typing. Moments later, Alyssa's phone buzzed again. "Tell Emma Merry Christmas. Can't wait to hear everything," with a heart emoji. "Tell Rachel you'll watch it today and text her later." Max typed out the responses, fumbling with the heart emoji. His fingers, Alyssa's fingers, were smaller and he kept hitting the wrong keys. The day dragged on. Lunch was sandwiches and soup, during which Max had to pretend to have opinions about things Alyssa cared about. Apparently, she was reading some book series everyone was talking about. She had plans to go to some New Year's party he'd never heard of. She was considering cutting her hair shorter. "No," Max said too forcefully to that one, earning odd looks. By evening, the strain was showing. Max had a headache from constantly monitoring his behavior, his movements, his voice. He'd slipped up a dozen times, reached for things with the wrong hand, sat with his legs spread, responded to Max instead of Alyssa. "I'm going to bed early," he announced after dinner, still feeling off. "On Christmas?" Helen frowned. "Are you sure you're okay?" "Just tired, Mom. Long day." He escaped upstairs, grateful to drop the act for a few minutes. In Alyssa's room, he sat on the bed and finally let himself process what had happened. He was in his sister's body, not just wearing it like a costume, but fully inhabiting it. Every nerve, every sensation, every biological function was hers. When he looked in the mirror, her face looked back. When he spoke, her voice emerged. A soft knock interrupted his spiral. "It's me," came his own voice. "Come in." Alyssa entered, closing the door behind her. She moved his body differently than he did, more contained, less sprawling. "How are you holding up?" "Terribly." Max flopped back on the bed, noting how different even that simple motion felt. "How are you so calm?" "I'm not." She sat on the desk chair, his body folding in ways he rarely positioned it. "But one of us has to be functional, and you're projecting panic like a beacon. It's giving me a headache." "Sorry, I can't help it." "I know." She was quiet for a moment. "It's strange seeing myself from the outside. Is that really how I look?" Max sat up to study her, himself. It was like looking at a living mirror, except the expressions were wrong, the mannerisms foreign. "That's how I look, apparently." Weird seeing it from this angle. "Your body is different," Alyssa said carefully. Not bad, just different. Everything's in a different place. The strength distribution, the way it moves. Tell me about it. Max gestured at himself. I keep trying to move like I'm used to, and it doesn't work. Plus, these jeans are torture. How do you wear something this tight? They're not that tight when you're used to them, and they make my ass look good. Alyssa! What? It's true. You've got a nice ass now. Congratulations. Max buried Alyssa's face in Alyssa's hands. This is so weird. It's going to get weirder. She leaned forward, elbows on knees in a position Max recognized as his own thinking pose. We need a plan. I have work on Wednesday. You have that online thing on Tuesday. Oh God, work! Max hadn't even thought about their jobs. Alyssa worked at a marketing firm downtown. He did freelance graphic design from home. I can't do your job. And I can't do yours. We'll have to call in sick, make excuses. She paused. And there's other things. Doctor appointments, friends. I have a life you're going to have to navigate. For how long? I don't know, but we have to assume it might be permanent. The word hung between them like a weight. Permanent. Max looked down at Alyssa's hands, Alyssa's body in the red sweater and tight jeans. This could be his reality forever. If it is permanent, he said slowly, then what? I just become you? I don't know. For the first time, Alyssa's composure cracked. I can read your mind, Max, but I can't read the future. Maybe we wake up tomorrow back to normal. Maybe we don't. Maybe next Christmas we can wish ourselves back. Maybe we can't. I don't know how to be a woman. You'll learn. Women aren't a different species, Max. We're just people in different bodies. She stood up. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll start figuring this out properly. I'll teach you what you need to know. And I'll teach you how to be me? Exactly. She headed for the door, pausing before opening it. Oh, and Max? Alyssa sleeps in pajamas, not just underwear. The green ones in the second drawer. She left before he could respond, closing the door with a soft click. Max sat alone in his sister's room, in his sister's body, wearing his sister's clothes. Tomorrow, he'd have to wake up and do it all over again. Navigate her life, her relationships, her world. He stood and looked in the mirror one more time. Auburn hair fell around Alyssa's face. Green eyes stared back at him. The red sweater brought out the warm tones in her, his skin. This is my life now, he told the reflection. At least for now. The reflection didn't argue. He changed into the green pajamas Alyssa had mentioned, trying not to think too hard about the mechanics of it all. The fabric was softer than his usual sleepwear, and it smelled faintly of lavender. Lying in Alyssa's bed, staring at Alyssa's ceiling, Max wondered what tomorrow would bring. Would he wake up back in his own body? Or would he open his eyes to auburn hair and green pajamas again? Only time would tell. The next morning arrived with a sense of déjà vu. Max woke to auburn hair in his face and the now familiar wrongness of Alyssa's body. No magical reversal overnight then. He dragged himself out of bed and into the shower, which was its own adventure. Everything about the routine was different. The products, the process, the time it took. By the time he emerged, clean and overwhelmed, 45 minutes had passed. Makeup, he muttered, staring at the collection on Alyssa's dresser. Do I have to? A text from his phone, in Alyssa's possession, answered that. Just mascara and lip gloss for around the house. I'll show you more later. It took 3 tries to apply mascara without stabbing himself in the eye. The lip gloss was easier but felt strange. He chose jeans again, different ones, dark blue, and a white sweater with gold threads woven through it. Downstairs, the family was already gathered. Thomas Jr. was working through his 3rd stack of pancakes, still showing no signs of fullness. Helen buzzed around the kitchen with the energy of someone half her age. Thomas Sr. had apparently already been for a 5-mile run. "Morning, sweetheart," Helen said, kissing him on the cheek as he sat down. "Feeling better?" "Yeah, much better." Max accepted a cup of coffee from Alyssa in his body, who was getting eerily good at mimicking his mannerisms. "Good, because I need you and Max to run to the store for me. We're out of milk and eggs, and I want to make cookies this afternoon." Max froze. A public outing. in Alyssa's body, with Alyssa in his body. Sure thing, Mom, Alyssa answered smoothly. We'll go after breakfast. The rest of the meal passed in a blur of anxiety. Max barely tasted his food, too focused on the impending trip outside the safe bubble of home. Ready? Alyssa asked once they'd cleared their plates. No. Too bad, come on. They grabbed coats. Max struggled into Alyssa's fitted black peacoat while she threw on his old bomber jacket and headed for his car. I'm driving, Alyssa announced. It's my car. It's your body's car and I'm in your body. She held up his keys. Besides, you're shaking. Max wanted to argue but couldn't. His hands, Alyssa's hands, were indeed trembling. He slid into the passenger seat, immediately noticing how different the perspective was from Alyssa's height. Seatbelt, Alyssa reminded him. It goes under the... Yeah, like that. The drive to the store was surreal. Max watched Alyssa drive his body, using his hands to steer his car, while he sat in the passenger seat in her body. Every bump in the road felt different. Every turn had a different center of gravity. Stop overthinking, Alyssa said without taking her eyes off the road. I can feel your anxiety from here. Easy for you to say. You're not the one who has to go shopping in the wrong body. No, I'm just the one who has to pretend to be my little brother while knowing exactly what everyone around us is thinking. She tapped her temple. Do you know how many people have really messed up thoughts at grocery stores? I don't want to know. Good instinct. The store parking lot was half full of post-Christmas shoppers. Max pulled Alyssa's coat tighter, as if it could somehow hide him. Just act natural, Alyssa coached as they walked toward the entrance. You're a woman buying groceries. Happens literally every day. Right, natural. The automatic doors opened, and they stepped into fluorescent brightness. Max felt exposed, like everyone could tell something was wrong. But shoppers moved past without a second glance, focused on their own lists and lives. Milk and eggs, Alyssa said, grabbing a basket, should be simple enough. It wasn't simple. Max found himself hyper-aware of every movement, every interaction. When a stockboy smiled at him, he panicked and looked away. When an older woman accidentally bumped him with her cart, he apologized 3 times. Relax, Alyssa murmured. You're making this harder than it needs to be. That's easy for you to... Max stopped mid-sentence. A familiar figure had just rounded the corner into their aisle. Oh no. What? Alyssa followed his gaze and winced. Ah, Emma. Emma Martinez, Alyssa's best friend since college, was heading straight for them. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, and she wore an oversized university hoodie that Max remembered Alyssa borrowing constantly. Alyssa! Max! Emma's face lit up. What are you guys doing here? Just grabbing stuff for Mom, Alyssa answered in Max's voice, smooth and easy. Cool, same. Emma's attention turned to Max, and her expression shifted to concern. Hey, you okay? You look kind of pale. I'm fine. Max's voice came out higher than intended. Just tired. Post-Christmas exhaustion, I get it. Emma shifted her basket to her other arm. So, we still on for Thursday? I have so much drama to catch you up on. Thursday, right, of course. Max nodded too enthusiastically. Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. You forgot, didn't you? No, Christmas brain. Uh-huh. Emma seemed unconvinced, but let it slide. Well, I'll text you the details. Again. Try to check your phone once in a while, yeah? I will, promise. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.